On a midsummer day in June, my little sister Liv was welcomed into her large, bustling family immediately upon her birth, while extended relatives huddled into the hospital room, whispering the words Munda, son, and Beti, daughter. And although my parents seemed to joyfully beam at the thought of my sister's new life, my grandmother's smile had disappeared the moment my mother had said, "It's a baby girl," in Punjabi. At the time, it was as if the word Beti, or daughter, had ruined all of my grandmother's hopes for the young child, as if Liv had already disowned her despite barely opening her eyes. I will never forget the look on her face. From the second my sister was born, my grandmother had decided her future. And unfortunately, like many women within India, it followed tradition. And for women like my mother, it meant getting married at 18 and giving up any dreams of a job to instead take care of her husband and children, to be nothing more than a wife. My grandmother's aspirations remained the same for me, as she would place her wooden chair in front of the kitchen each night, waiting for her granddaughter to finally begin to cook, a silent acceptance of a role a woman holds, bound to serving within the kitchen. Yet, more than 171 years ago, at the Seneca Falls Conference, the Declaration of Sentiments and Resolutions declared that all men and women are created equal. Reaching a pinnacle of the fight fought by women for centuries around the world, a once inconceivable manifesto that fulfilled the words of suffragists Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Abigail Adams. And because of the efforts of those who continuously sought the liberation of women, I am thankful for the legal recognition that women are not to be treated as subordinate to men, and to have the justice of protected rights in this country. But even more than 100 years later, after the 19th Amendment has passed, the fight has not ended. Although it may seem that the discrimination against women has been diminished with the granting of a political voice, the subtle forms of discrimination are still embedded within our social environments, which for women such as my sisters and me is as close as home. Because today, gender equality has not been fully achieved anywhere in the world, and it's time that we all engage in the conversation of why and how. So with such urgency, I invite you all, men and women, to explore two of the many ways that women are still not equal in this day and age. Number one, the pay gap. It does exist. According to a 2018 study done by the Department of Labor, it was found that women who work full-time receive pay 62% lower than their male coworkers with the same qualifications. But when you visualize the financial effects of the pay gap on women, you picture a mother struggling to place food on the table and live up to the praised work of her male coworkers, while she begins to degrade herself, another reminder of why she should be in the kitchen. And for women such as Cheryl Evans, a single mother balancing being a worker and student, that meant losing more than $1 million as an engineer just because she was an African American woman. Number two, the mother's trap. Consider this. The fundamental aspects of gender discrimination strengthen as a woman becomes closer to the possibility of motherhood and is pressured to give up the job that she dreamed for as a young girl. When my mother moved to the United States, she held her degree as an opportunity to make her passion her job, to empower her future daughters as one of the very first employed women within her family. Yet, as she became a mother, she was told no by her own family. She would instead have to live up to the traditional expectations of being a housewife, while she watched all the men in her family excel in their careers, and her daughters, in turn, look up to them instead. She faced the same suffering that suffragists Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Abigail Adams hoped to defeat long ago. I stand here today hoping to galvanize as many advocates from this generation and beyond to recognize the reason why feminism, the fight for political, social, and economic equality among men and women yet exists today. Because although we may address policy and legislation, We often overlook the cultural barriers that restrict the woman today. If I were to have a daughter in the future, I would not want her to give up her dreams of being an astronaut or an engineer because of her culture's archaic traditions. No. So I ask that while we in the US have the rights and liberty unlike others, it's time that we voice those who are unheard, those such as Liv and my mother, so that the principles of tradition will instead be replaced by the principles of the suffragists long ago, so that men and women will truly be treated equal. Thank you.